Welcome, and thank you for joining me for this gentle, soothing story for sleep. My name is Gemini, and tonight we will begin a quiet and wondrous journey into the most intimate of landscapes, the miniature universe that resides within you. Over the course of this series, we will drift through the silent rivers, luminous cities, and ancient forests of the human body, uncovering the profound science and poetry written into our very cells. There is no need to focus too intently. Simply allow my voice to be a gentle guide as you settle into comfort and peace. Before we begin our journey tonight, I would be so deeply grateful to know where you are listening from, or perhaps how your day was. Please feel free to share in a comment below. And if you find solace in our time together, please support this channel with a like and subscribe. Thank you so much. And now, let us begin. Let us begin in the quietest and most foundational of places, with the gentle rhythm that has accompanied you since the very first moment of your arrival into this world. Feel, for a moment, the soft rise and fall of your own chest, a silent, unconscious tide that connects the world outside to the universe within. This is the breath, the first and most constant companion of your life, a whisper of air that is both a simple physical act and a profound communion with the world itself. Every 7 seconds, every 5 seconds, every beat of your own personal cadence, you draw in the sky, you invite the atmosphere to become a part of your being, and in doing so, you are participating in a conversation that is as old as the earth itself. The air that now filters into your lungs is the same air that has been cycled for eons, a vast and invisible ocean in which we all live, an envelope of gases shaped by ancient volcanoes, by the first photosynthesizing algae, breathing life into a sterile world, and by the countless beings who have breathed before you. This atmospheric ocean is a subtle and complex mixture, a cocktail of elements that we rarely pause to consider. It is composed primarily of nitrogen, a quiet and unassuming gas making up about 78% of every breath you take, a silent witness that passes through you largely unchanged, a steadying presence in the air. But woven within this nitrogen is the element of life, the true object of your breath's quest: oxygen, composing nearly 21% of the atmosphere. This is the spark, the animator, the vital essence that your body craves with every gentle inhalation. The remaining 1% is a tapestry of other whispers, a trace of noble argon, a fleeting touch of carbon dioxide exhaled by a distant forest, and the faintest hint of other elements, each a tiny story of the planet's chemistry. And so, with your next slow breath, imagine drawing in not just air, but this rich and ancient history, this planetary soup of life. The journey begins with a simple, beautiful act of mechanics, orchestrated by a silent conductor you almost never have to command. Below your lungs lies a great, dome-shaped muscle, the diaphragm, the unsung hero of your respiration. As you begin to inhale, this dome contracts and flattens, pulling downward with a slow, deliberate strength. This simple movement creates a space, a gentle vacuum within your chest cavity. And the universe, which abhors a vacuum, obliges by allowing the air to rush in. Your lungs, two magnificent, pinkish, sponge-like organs, do not pull the air in themselves. Rather, they are passively filled by this pressure difference, expanding like soft bellows, receiving the gift of the atmosphere. It is a process of surrender, of opening, of allowing the world to enter. The air flows past your larynx, the guardian of your voice, down the wide trunk of the trachea, and then begins a journey into a strange and beautiful inverted tree. The airway branches, then branches again, dividing into ever finer and more delicate passages, the bronchi giving way to the bronchioles, a fractal pattern of life that mimics the trees of the outer world. With each division, the air slows, its rush becoming a gentle drift, as it travels deeper and deeper into the quiet, warm, humid interior of your body. It is on a pilgrimage to a sacred place, a destination of almost unimaginable delicacy. At the very end of these branching pathways, at the farthest tips of this internal tree, lie the true treasures of the lungs, the alveoli. Imagine countless, microscopic clusters of grapes, over 300 million of them. their walls impossibly thin, only a single cell thick. This is the border, the delicate membrane separating the air of the world from the blood of your life. The surface area of these tiny sacs, if they were to be carefully unfolded and laid flat, would cover an entire tennis court, a vast and intricate landscape hidden within the confines of your chest. Here, in these silent, shimmering chambers, the great exchange occurs. The oxygen molecules you drew in from the world outside, from the night air or the sunlit room, arrive at this frontier. They have travelled from the sky, through the architecture of your airways, to this final, delicate interface. On the other side of this gossamer wall, a mere whisper away, flows the river of your blood, dark and wanting, carrying the carbon dioxide, the metabolic sigh of your body's countless cells, and in a moment of pure and silent alchemy, a process driven by the simple, elegant laws of physics, the oxygen dissolves. It passes through the cellular wall of the alveolus and the equally thin wall of the capillary, leaving the world of air behind forever. It gives itself over to a new medium, becoming one with the internal ocean. In that same instant, the carbon dioxide, the waste of your inner world, is released, passing in the opposite direction, given back to the air to be carried away with your next gentle exhale, a gift to the plants that will turn it back into the very oxygen you crave. This is the breath, not as a single action, but as a continuous, elegant loop of giving and receiving, a perfect partnership between your body and the planet. And as this newly oxygenated blood, now bright and revitalized, is swept away from the lungs, it begins a new journey, a silent voyage into the very heart of the miniature universe that is you. And so, this newly enriched essence of the sky, this cargo of life captured in the quiet chambers of the lungs, begins its great journey, carried away on the currents of a silent red river that flows within the hidden landscapes of your body. This is your circulatory system, a vast and intricate network of vessels that, if laid end to end, would stretch for more than 60,000 miles, enough to circle our planet more than twice. It is a testament to the sheer scale of the universe you contain, a system of transport so extensive that it ensures no single cell, no matter how remote, is ever left wanting. This river does not roar. It flows in a deep and profound silence, a constant, pulsing presence that is the very definition of your vitality. It is a closed loop, a perfect system of delivery and return, an internal geography of highways, roads, and tiny, winding footpaths that connect every part of your being into a unified, breathing whole. At the very center of this sprawling kingdom, this vascular network, resides the guardian of the river, the tireless metronome of your life. Your heart, it is not the fragile, valentine shape of poetry, but a powerful, fist-sized muscle of immense strength and endurance, nestled safely between your lungs. It beats, on average, 100,000 times a day, a rhythmic, lifelong percussion that began when you were but a tiny embryo and will not cease until your final moment. It is the most reliable and dedicated servant of your body, a pump of exquisite design. This guardian is a house of 4 chambers, 2 atria that serve as receiving halls, and 2 ventricles that act as powerful dispatch rooms. The deoxygenated blood, returning from its long journey around the body, first enters the right atrium, a gentle reservoir. From there, it passes into the right ventricle, which with a powerful contraction sends the blood on a short, crucial journey to the lungs, the very place we just departed, to release its burden of carbon dioxide and embrace the fresh oxygen. Once revitalized, this bright, crimson blood returns to the heart, but this time to the left side, entering the left atrium. It is then delivered to the powerhouse of the entire system, the left ventricle. This is the strongest chamber, its muscular wall thick and formidable, for it bears the responsibility of propelling this oxygen-rich blood to every distant shore of your body, from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes. With each powerful beat, a surge of this life-giving river is sent out into the great arterial highway, the aorta. From this main vessel, the river branches into a complex system of arteries, the great highways carrying the vibrant, oxygenated flow away from the heart. These arteries are strong and elastic, designed to withstand the pressure of each heartbeat's surge. They branch again and again into smaller arterioles, the regional roads that deliver the flow to specific towns and provinces of your body, until they become the smallest vessels of all, the capillaries. It is here, in the capillary beds, that the true work of the river is done. These are the tiny, meandering footpaths of the system, vessels so narrow that the couriers of the blood must pass through in single file. Their walls, like those of the alveoli, are only 1 cell thick, allowing for an intimate exchange with the surrounding tissues. Here, the precious cargo of oxygen is finally delivered, seeping through the thin capillary walls to nourish a waiting muscle cell, a thinking neuron, a repairing skin cell. At the same time, the cells release their metabolic waste, their carbon dioxide, which is picked up by the blood for the return journey. Now, the river's character changes. It begins its slow, gentle journey home through the venules, which gradually merge into the larger veins, the winding tributaries that carry the deoxygenated, darker blood back towards the heart. Unlike arteries, veins are under much lower pressure, relying on the movement of your own muscles to help gently squeeze the blood along its path, with tiny one-way valves ensuring it never flows backward. And what of the river itself? This crimson fluid. It is a complex and living water, a plasma filled with a bustling population of specialized cells. The most numerous of these, giving the river its characteristic color, are the red blood cells, the true couriers of this internal world. They are beautiful, biconcave discs, like tiny, soft cushions, a shape that maximizes their surface area for carrying oxygen. A single drop of your blood contains millions of these tireless workers. They are simple creatures, having shed their nucleus to make more room for their precious cargo. That cargo is held by a remarkable molecule called hemoglobin, an iron-hearted protein that clasps onto oxygen in the lungs and releases it gracefully in the tissues where it is needed. These crimson discs are born in the secret, hidden core of your being, in the marrow of your bones, and from there, they embark on their silent, 120-day journey, endlessly navigating the 60,000 miles of your inner world, ensuring that the light of the sky, the gift of the breath, reaches every last, hidden corner of your miniature universe. From the tireless, microscopic couriers of the silent Red River, our journey now takes us to their very birthplace, a place of deep and hidden vitality, the source from which that river perpetually springs. We move from the fluid and the flowing to the solid and the steadfast, into the very framework of your being, the skeleton. It is easy to think of our bones as inert, as a mere scaffold of dry, lifeless calcium, the final stark remainder of a life once lived. But nothing could be further from the truth. Your skeleton is not a static structure. It is a living, breathing forest, a dynamic, crystalline woodland that is constantly growing, changing, and adapting in the quiet darkness within you. It is a forest that provides shelter, that stores ancient minerals, and that houses in its secret heart the very factories of your lifeblood. It is the architecture of your form, the silent strength that allows you to stand tall, to move through the world, and to protect the soft, vulnerable organs that animate you. Imagine the 206 bones of your body not as individual pieces, but as an interconnected, living ecosystem. Each one is an organ of incredible complexity, a marvel of biological engineering. On the outside, it has a dense, hard layer of cortical bone, smooth and resilient, the strong trunk of the tree, but inside, it is a beautiful, intricate latticework of trabecular bone, a spongy, honeycomb structure that is both lightweight and immensely strong, a design that architects and engineers have long sought to mimic. This internal structure is not random. It aligns itself perfectly along lines of stress and strain, constantly remodeling its own architecture to best support the unique forces of your individual life. The way you walk, the way you carry yourself, the very gravity of the earth, all of these are communicated to this inner forest, which responds with a slow, deliberate intelligence. This is a living material, a composite of the flexible and the strong. It is woven from a protein matrix of collagen, which gives it a supple resilience, like the wood of a young tree that can bend without breaking. Infused into this flexible matrix are crystals of calcium phosphate, which give the bone its incredible hardness and compressive strength, like the stone of a mountain. It is this perfect marriage of pliancy and rigidity that makes your skeleton such a formidable and enduring structure. This forest is not a still and silent place. It is tended by two opposing, yet cooperative types of cells, the silent gardeners of your bones. On one hand, you have the osteoblasts, the builders. These are the cells that spin the collagen webs and lay down the calcium crystals, constructing new bone tissue where it is needed, reinforcing areas under stress, and mending the imperceptible fractures of daily life. On the other hand, you have the osteoclasts, the sculptors. These are larger cells that move along the bone's surface, dissolving and absorbing old or damaged bone tissue, carving away what is no longer needed. This perpetual dance of creation and dissolution is the process of bone remodeling, a cycle so complete that every 10 years or so, you possess an almost entirely new skeleton. It is a slow, silent renovation that ensures your inner framework remains strong, healthy, and perfectly adapted to your life's journey. It is a testament to the body's profound wisdom, its commitment to constant renewal, even in its most solid structures. And deep within the hollow, protected chambers of your larger bones, within the spongy heart of this crystalline forest, lies one of the body's greatest secrets, the bone marrow. This is the sacred, hidden nursery we sought, the origin point of the silent red river. Here, in this soft, reddish tissue, the miracle of hematopoiesis takes place. The creation of your blood, stem cells, the undifferentiated pluripotent seeds of your body, reside here, and in a process of profound and beautiful transformation, they commit themselves to becoming the various cells of your blood. They become the red blood cells, the hemoglobin-filled couriers we have already met, destined for a life of carrying oxygen. They become the various white blood cells of your immune system, the vigilant guardians of your health. And they become the platelets, the tiny cellular fragments that will seal any breach in the river's walls. Every second of every day, your bone marrow produces millions of these new cells, releasing them into the bloodstream to begin their vital work. And so you see, the hard, protective strength of the bone and the fluid, life-giving flow of the blood are not separate systems. They are deeply and intimately connected. The forest shelters the source of the river, and the river, in turn, brings the nourishment that allows the forest to live and grow. It is a perfect, self-sustaining cycle of strength and vitality, the very foundation upon which your miniature universe is built. From the deep, internal forest of bone, that solid framework that gives us our form and strength, our journey now drifts outward, toward the very edge of our personal universe, the boundary where you end and the rest of the world begins. This is your skin, the largest organ of your body, a soft, supple envelope that holds the entirety of your being. It is far more than a simple covering. It is a living, breathing map of your life, a sensory canvas, and a formidable, intelligent shield. Think of it as the atmosphere of your own personal planet, a multi-layered membrane that is both a barrier and a gateway, protecting the teeming, delicate world within from the vast, unpredictable world outside, while simultaneously allowing for a profound and intimate conversation between the two. Every scar, every freckle, every line etched by laughter or by worry is a landmark on this personal geography, a testament to the journey you have travelled. It is the scroll upon which your story is written. This living map is composed of 3 distinct but interwoven layers, each with its own unique character and purpose. The outermost layer, the one that meets the air and the light and the touch of another, is the epidermis. This is your first line of defense, a remarkably thin yet resilient shield. Its own surface is a layer of dead cells, keratinocytes that have completed their life's journey and now form a tough, waterproof barrier. These cells are constantly being shed, flaking away in their millions every day, a silent, invisible snowfall that means you are, in a very real sense, constantly renewing your interface with the world. Beneath this surface layer, new cells are perpetually being born in the deepest part of the epidermis, beginning a slow, upward migration that lasts for about a month. As they rise, they produce keratin, the same tough, fibrous protein that makes up your hair and nails, before they eventually die and become part of that protective outer sheet. Woven among these migrating cells are the melanocytes, the artists of your skin, producing the pigment melanin, which gives your skin its unique and beautiful color. This melanin is a natural parasol, a beautiful adaptation that absorbs and dissipates the energy of the sun's ultraviolet rays, protecting the precious DNA in the living cells below from damage. Beneath the bustling, regenerative world of the epidermis lies the dermis, a much thicker, more permanent layer that provides the skin with its strength, flexibility, and nourishment. This is the true living heart of the skin, a rich and complex landscape of collagen and elastin fibers, a dense network that gives your skin its plumpness and resilience. It is this layer that houses the vast infrastructure of your skin's world. Here, you will find the tiny blood vessels, the capillaries that bring the nutrients to feed the epidermis from below. You will find the roots of your hair follicles, the glands that produce the sweat that cools you, and the oils that keep your skin soft and protected. But most importantly, the dermis is the home of your sense of touch. It is threaded with an exquisitely sensitive network of nerve endings and specialized receptors, each one tuned to a different aspect of the physical world. There are receptors for light pressure, for deep pressure, for vibration, for texture, and for temperature, each one a tiny messenger waiting to send a report back to the brain. Touch is our first language, the first sense through which we understand the safety of a parent's embrace, the texture of the world, and the presence of another being. It is a constant, subtle stream of information that roots us in the reality of the present moment. The deepest layer of all is the hypodermis, or subcutaneous tissue. This is a layer of fat and connective tissue that anchors the skin to the muscles and bones beneath it. It is the body's soft cushion, an insulator against the cold, and an important store of energy. It is the gentle padding that softens the contours of your form and protects you from the bumps and impacts of the world. And so, these three layers work in perfect concert, creating a boundary that is at once protective and permeable, strong and sensitive. It is a self-mending shield. When breached by a cut or a scrape, a complex and beautiful cascade of cellular events is set in motion to heal the wound, to weave the map back together again. It is a perfect thermostat, regulating your internal temperature by sweating to cool you down, or by redirecting blood flow to conserve heat. It is a vast and intricate sensory organ, constantly drinking in information about the world around you, painting a rich and detailed picture of your physical reality. As you lie here now, feel the gentle pressure of the surface beneath you, the subtle temperature of the air on your exposed skin. Each of these sensations is a quiet whisper, a message being sent along the living wires of this incredible, ever-present organ, your personal, protective, and perceptive frontier. From the sensitive frontier of the skin, where the world's textures and temperatures are first perceived, our journey now follows these sensations as they are transformed into a new kind of language, a language of pure energy, of silent, electrical whispers. The gentle pressure, the fleeting warmth, the softest touch upon your arm. These are no longer just physical events. They have become information, translated into fleeting impulses that must travel from the periphery of your kingdom to the central throne of your awareness. This is the domain of your nervous system, a vast and intricate communications network, a living telegraph of unimaginable complexity that weaves through every part of your being. Imagine for a moment a web of spun light, a network of shimmering, living wires that connect every outpost of your body to the command center, ensuring that no sensation goes unnoticed, no intention goes unfulfilled. This network is how your miniature universe speaks to itself, how it learns about the world, and how it coordinates its every action in a silent, perfectly timed symphony. The fundamental unit of this incredible network, the architect of every thought, feeling, and movement, is a single, extraordinary cell. The neuron. There are billions of these messengers within you, each one a tiny, living battery, a biological microprocessor of exquisite design. Each neuron has a central cell body, the soma, which contains its nucleus and metabolic machinery, the heart of its operations. Spreading out from this central core are delicate, tree-like branches called dendrites, the receivers, the sensitive antennae that listen for incoming signals from other neurons or from sensory receptors in your skin, eyes, or ears. And extending from the cell body is a single, long, and slender filament called the axon, the transmitter. This is the wire itself, a cable that can be microscopic in length, or, in some cases, can stretch for several feet, carrying a message from your spinal cord all the way down to a muscle in your big toe. It is along this axon that the whisper of electricity travels. This whisper is not a simple flow of electrons like the electricity in the walls of your home. It is a far more subtle and beautiful phenomenon, an electrochemical wave known as an action potential. In its resting state, the neuron maintains a delicate balance of electrically charged ions, with more negative ions on the inside of its membrane and more positive ions on the outside, creating a tiny, latent electrical charge. But when a sensation from your skin is strong enough, or a signal from a neighboring neuron arrives at the dendrites, it triggers a dramatic and fleeting change. Tiny gates or channels in the neuron's membrane fly open, allowing positive ions to rush into the cell, instantaneously reversing the electrical charge at that one specific point. This sudden flip in polarity triggers the gates in the section immediately adjacent to open, and so on, creating a ripple, a wave of depolarization that propagates down the entire length of the axon. It is a silent, cascading domino effect of pure energy, a pulse of life that travels without ever diminishing in strength, a perfect and faithful message. To ensure this message travels not only faithfully, but also with incredible speed, many axons are wrapped in a special insulating sheath made of a pearly, fatty substance called myelin. This sheath is not continuous. It is segmented, like a string of luminous, microscopic beads. This ingenious design prevents the electrical signal from leaking out and allows the action potential to do something remarkable. It leaps. Instead of rippling smoothly down the entire length of the axon, the signal jumps from one gap in the myelin to the next, a process called saltatory conduction. This allows the whisper to become a flash, with messages traveling along these myelinated nerves at speeds of over 200 miles per hour. A sensation at your fingertip can reach your brain in a fraction of a second, a speed that allows for the fluid, instantaneous experience of reality that we take for granted. This is the difference between a slow, meandering thought and a quick, protective reflex. And so, this entire system is a constant, two-way conversation. The nerves carrying signals inward from your senses, from the living map of your skin, are the sensory or afferent pathways. They are the field reporters, sending a constant stream of updates to the central command about the state of the world. In response, the brain and spinal cord send their own messages outward along the motor or efferent pathways. These are the commands, the whispers that tell a muscle to contract, a gland to secrete, your heart to beat a little faster. As you lie here, settling into rest, this system is still humming with a quiet, background activity, monitoring your breathing, feeling the gentle contact of your body with the surface below, and carrying the subtle, soothing messages that are guiding you towards sleep. Every part of your being is connected by these invisible, whispering wires, this luminous, biological internet that gives rise to the unified, conscious whole that is you. We have followed the whisper of sensation as it transforms into a flash of energy, a signal traveling along the living wires of the nervous system. But let us pause now and ask a deeper question. What is this wire, this neuron, truly made of? What is the fundamental building block of this incredible architecture, and indeed, of all the tissues of your body? To find the answer, we must take a journey that is as profound as any voyage across the cosmos. We must shrink our perspective, diving down past the scale of tissues and organs, past the visible world, into a realm of shimmering, intricate, and bustling life. We are arriving at the foundational unit of your entire being, the single living cell. And it is not a simple brick or a mere cog in a machine. Each of the trillions of cells that compose your body is a miniature universe in its own right, a self-contained, luminous city of staggering complexity, a metropolis humming with the ceaseless activity of life. Let us imagine ourselves at the border of one such city, perhaps a neuron, or a skin cell, or one of the muscle cells that gently beat in your heart. The city limits are defined by the cell membrane, a boundary that is not a rigid, static wall, but a fluid, intelligent, and shimmering frontier. It is composed of a double layer of fatty molecules called lipids, creating a flexible, oily film that is both a container and a gatekeeper. Embedded within this membrane are countless specialized proteins that act as channels, pumps, and receptors. The sentinels and customs agents of the cellular world. They meticulously control everything that enters and leaves the city, allowing precious nutrients and water to flow in, while escorting waste products out. This membrane is the cell's skin, its own sensory organ, allowing it to perceive its environment, to communicate with its neighbors, and to maintain the perfect, delicate balance of its own internal world. Passing through this intelligent border, we find ourselves floating in the cytoplasm, the internal environment of the city. It is not empty space, but a thick, gel-like substance, the cytosol, that fills the cell, a kind of living, primordial soup, rich with proteins, salts, and sugars. This is the city's atmosphere, its internal ocean, and it is here, suspended within this medium, that we find the incredible architecture and infrastructure of the cell. The organelles. These are the city's specialized districts and buildings, each performing a vital function with an efficiency that would be the envy of any human engineer. Drifting through the cytoplasm, we would see them all, humming with a quiet, purposeful energy. We might first notice the mitochondria, the undisputed power plants of the city. These are beautiful, bean-shaped structures, often numbering in the hundreds or thousands within a single cell, and they are constantly at work. Within their intricate, folded inner membranes, they perform the miracle of cellular respiration, taking in the oxygen and glucose delivered by the blood, and, through a complex series of chemical reactions, transforming them into a molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, a T. P is the universal energy currency of the cell, the rechargeable battery that powers every single activity in the city, from constructing new buildings to sending a nerve impulse. The quiet hum of your life, the very warmth of your body, is the collective glow of trillions upon trillions of these tiny, tireless power stations. Elsewhere in the city, we would find the ribosomes, the smallest but most numerous of the city's factories. They are like tiny, molecular construction sites, and their sole purpose is to build the proteins that the cell needs to function. They receive their blueprints, their instructions, from the city's central command, and they diligently assemble the long, complex chains of amino acids that will become the enzymes, the structural components, and the messengers of the cell. Some of these ribosomes float freely in the cytoplasm, building proteins for use within the city, while others are studded along the walls of a vast, interconnected network of folded membranes called the endoplasmic reticulum. This is the city's industrial heartland, a sprawling system of canals and workshops where proteins are modified, folded, and packaged for export, and where the city's lipids are synthesized. From here, these finished products are sent to the Golgi apparatus, the city's central post office, where they are sorted, labeled, and dispatched in tiny transport vesicles to their final destinations, either within the cell or outside its walls. Each of these structures, from the smallest ribosome to the sprawling endoplasmic reticulum, works in a seamless, silent harmony, a perfectly coordinated dance of creation and transport. And all of it is governed by the secrets held within the city's most protected and sacred space. The central library, the nucleus. We have journeyed through the bustling, luminous city of the cell, witnessing the tireless work of its power plants and factories, all operating in a silent, harmonious symphony. But we have yet to visit the city's most sacred and protected space, the origin point of all its commands, the source of its identity and its purpose. We must now drift past the humming organelles, through the gelatinous cytoplasm, and approach the very heart of the metropolis, the nucleus. It is a large, spherical structure, enclosed by its own double membrane, a vault within a vault. This is the city's central library, its hall of records, and its executive command center. And within this quiet, guarded chamber lies the most remarkable molecule in the known universe, the blueprint for your entire being. It is the deoxyribonucleic acid, the DNA, a thread of information so vast it staggers the imagination, coiled into a space so small it defies belief. Let us imagine this molecule not as a mere chemical, but as an ancient, coiling serpent, a living, whispering scroll that carries the accumulated wisdom of 4 billion years of life. It is the story of your existence, written in a language of elegant simplicity. The structure of DNA is one of nature's most iconic forms, the double helix. Picture a vast cosmic ladder twisted gently upon itself into a graceful spiraling staircase. The 2 long winding backbones of this ladder are made of sugar and phosphate, providing structure and continuity. The rungs of the ladder, however, are where the true secret lies. These are the letters of the genetic alphabet, the 4 nitrogenous bases: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. That is the entirety of the alphabet, just 4 simple letters. Yet from this spare palette, the epic poem of your life is written. The true genius of this language lies in its perfect partnership. The rungs of the ladder are always formed by a pair of these bases, and the pairing is not random. It follows a simple, immutable rule. Adenine always and only pairs with thymine, and guanine always and only pairs with cytosine. They are perfect complements, 2 halves of a whole, fitting together like a lock and its key. This simple, elegant pairing is the foundation of life's stability and its ability to replicate itself with such astonishing fidelity. When a cell divides, this cosmic ladder gently unzips down the middle, separating the pairs. Each single strand then serves as a perfect template, a mold upon which a new, complementary strand is built, resulting in 2 identical copies of the original scroll, one for each daughter cell. It is a process of replication so precise that it would be like copying 1,000 thick books by hand and making only a single spelling error. A single human cell contains approximately 6 feet, or 2 meters, of this DNA, this beautiful, coiling serpent. And this is not just in one cell, but in almost every single one of the trillions of cells that make up your body. How is it possible that a thread so long can fit within a nucleus so microscopically small? The answer lies in a packaging system of breathtaking efficiency. The DNA is not loosely floating. It is spooled and coiled around tiny proteins called histones, like thread around a series of microscopic bobbins. These spools are then further coiled and folded, then looped and compacted into the dense, X-shaped structures we call chromosomes. It is an act of molecular origami, so sophisticated that it allows a library containing over 3 billion letters of code to be condensed into a space smaller than a speck of dust. This is the full instruction manual for building and operating a human being, from the color of your eyes to the way your liver processes toxins, all written in that simple 4-letter code and packed away with a density that human technology can only dream of. Within this vast and ancient text, certain sequences of letters form coherent sentences, or what we call genes. Each gene is like a single recipe in a grand cookbook, containing the specific instructions for building one particular protein. One gene might hold the recipe for hemoglobin, the oxygen-carrying molecule in your blood. Another might code for keratin, the tough protein in your skin and hair. Yet another might contain the instructions for building an insulin molecule to regulate your blood sugar. The cell can read these recipes, transcribing them into a temporary message and sending it out to the ribosomes, the cellular factories, to be built. And so, this silent, coiled serpent is not a static blueprint. It is a living, active library, constantly being consulted, its ancient wisdom guiding the daily life of the cell with a precision that has been honed over eons. It is the unbroken thread that connects you to your parents, to your ancestors, and back through the mists of time to the very first single-celled life that stirred in the primordial oceans. This ancient text is your most intimate inheritance, the silent, whispering author of the miniature universe you are. From the deep, quiet sanctuary of the nucleus, from the ancient, coiled library of our DNA, we now ascend in scale once more to witness the most complex and wondrous creation that this genetic code has ever orchestrated. From that simple, four-letter alphabet, an instruction set arises to build the most intricate and mysterious object in the known universe, the 1.5 kilograms of soft, wrinkled tissue that resides within your skull, the organ that is capable of contemplating its own existence. We arrive now at the human brain, the seat of your consciousness, the source of your every thought, dream, and feeling. It is not a computer made of meat, nor a simple switchboard of wires. It is better imagined as an enchanted loom, a living, self-weaving tapestry where billions of flashing threads weave themselves into the ever-changing patterns of your reality. Within this protected cranial vault resides a galaxy of approximately 86 billion neurons, a number that rivals the number of stars in our own Milky Way. Each of these neurons is a universe of complexity in its own right, a living cell with the ability to communicate, to process information, and to form connections. And it is in the connections, the relationships between these stars, that the true magic lies. Each neuron can form thousands of links with its neighbors, creating a dense, tangled web of pathways, a network of such staggering complexity that the number of possible connections, of possible thoughts, exceeds the number of atoms in the known universe. It is a cosmos of pure potential, a silent, internal galaxy where storms of electricity give birth to the light of an idea, and constellations of firing cells create the gravity of a memory. The communication between these billions of stars, these individual neurons, happens at a junction that is both a place of connection and a place of separation. This is the synapse, the microscopic gap between the axon of one neuron and the dendrite of the next. The electrical impulse, the action potential we followed earlier, arrives at the end of the axon, but it cannot jump this synaptic cleft. Instead, its arrival triggers the release of tiny vesicles, microscopic bubbles filled with chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. These chemicals drift across the tiny gap and bind to receptors on the neighboring neuron, like a key fitting into a lock. This binding action can either excite the next neuron, encouraging it to fire its own electrical signal, or inhibit it, telling it to remain quiet. It is in this subtle, chemical conversation, happening trillions of times every second across the entire expanse of your brain, that the true complexity of thought is born. It is a conversation of whispers and shouts, of permissions and denials, a chemical ballet that allows for all the nuance and subtlety of your mental world. What is most profound about this enchanted loom is that it is not a static tapestry with a fixed pattern. It is alive, dynamic, and constantly reweaving itself in response to your every experience. This remarkable property is known as neuroplasticity. Every time you learn a new fact, practice a new skill, or even have a new thought, you are physically changing the structure of your brain. The connections, the synapses, between the neurons involved in that activity become stronger, more efficient. New pathways are forged, like trails being cleared through a dense forest. Old, unused pathways may wither away. Your brain is a living sculpture, shaped and molded by the gentle, persistent pressure of your attention and your life. The memories of your childhood are not stored in a single file, but are woven into the very fabric of this loom, encoded in the strength and pattern of countless synaptic connections. This means that you are, in a very real sense, the architect of your own inner world, constantly shaping the landscape of your mind with the focus of your awareness. This internal cosmos is broadly organized into regions, great continents of neural tissue dedicated to different functions, all working in seamless integration. There is the great, folded landscape of the cerebrum, the two hemispheres that are the home of your higher thought, your language, your imagination, and your conscious awareness. Tucked beneath it is the cerebellum, the conductor of graceful movement, coordinating the thousands of minute muscle adjustments needed for balance and precision. And deep within the core lies the limbic system, the ancient, emotional heart of the brain, where feelings of joy, fear, and love are born. Yet, no thought or feeling is ever the product of one region alone. They are all emergent properties of the whole system. Symphonies played upon the entire 86 billion stringed instrument. It is here, in this silent, electrochemical storm, that the universe, for a brief and wondrous moment, wakes up and becomes aware of itself. From the enchanted loom of the brain, that vast, interconnected galaxy of neurons, our journey now drifts into one of its most profound and mysterious territories, the realm of feeling. We have witnessed the electrical flashes and the chemical whispers that constitute the mechanics of thought. But how does this intricate machinery give rise to the rich, subjective tapestry of our emotional lives? How can a storm of ions and molecules become the warmth of love, the ache of sorrow, or the gentle peace of contentment? The answer, in part, lies not in the electricity, but in the chemistry, in a subtle and powerful class of molecules that act as the pigments of our consciousness, the colors that paint our inner world. These are the neurotransmitters and hormones, the body's subtle messengers, that translate the cold logic of neural firing into the vibrant, felt experience of being alive. Imagine your consciousness as a clear and placid lake. The thoughts that ripple across its surface are the electrical signals of your neurons, but the overall color, the mood and tenor of the water itself, is determined by the chemistry that infuses it. Let us consider serotonin, one of the most well-known of these chemical messengers. It is not happiness itself, but rather the gentle, underlying color of well-being, the quiet hum of contentment that allows for peace and stability. When serotonin is present in balanced amounts, the waters of the lake are calm and clear, resilient to the winds of stress. It is the molecular whisper that says, "All is well, you are safe, you are whole." It helps to regulate our sleep, our appetite, our sense of satisfaction, weaving a thread of quiet confidence through the fabric of our being. Then there is dopamine, a very different color in the palette of the soul. This is the molecule of motivation, of desire, of the thrill of anticipation. It is not the pleasure of having, but the pleasure of seeking. Dopamine is the spark that lights up the brain's reward circuits, the chemical surge that says, "This is important, pay attention, move toward this." It is the feeling of discovery, the satisfaction of solving a puzzle, the delicious anticipation of a joyful event. It is the color of curiosity and drive, the force that propels us to learn, to explore, and to create. It is a bright, energetic hue, essential for our vitality, but one that, in its absence, can leave the world feeling grey and uninteresting. A landscape without landmarks. And then there are the colours of alarm, of high alert. When the brain's ancient sentinel, a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala, perceives a threat, it sounds a chemical alarm that floods the body with messengers of urgency. Adrenaline, also known as epinephrine, is the first and fastest of these. It is a jolt of pure energy, a vivid, electric color that sharpens the senses, quickens the heart, and prepares the muscles for immediate action. It is the essence of the fight or flight response, a primal and life-saving mechanism. It is accompanied by cortisol, a slower, more enduring hormone that acts as a long, rolling wave of stress, keeping the body on high alert. While essential for navigating immediate danger, this is a color that, when it stains the water for too long, can cloud its clarity and exhaust its reserves. These chemical colors do not arise in a vacuum. They are deeply connected to our experiences and memories, managed and interpreted by the brain's limbic system, its emotional core. The amygdala acts as the lookout, constantly scanning for emotional significance, while the nearby hippocampus acts as the scribe, meticulously linking these feelings to the context and events of our lives. This is why the scent of a certain flower can instantly transport you back to a childhood garden, bringing with it a wave of nostalgia, or why a particular song can unlock a profound sense of either joy or sadness. The emotion is not just a chemical, it is a chemical bound to a memory, a color woven into a specific pattern on the enchanted loom. And flowing through it all, there is oxytocin, the warm tide of connection, the molecule of trust, bonding, and love, released through a gentle touch, a kind word, or a shared gaze, painting the world in the soft hues of belonging. And so, our feelings, which can seem so overwhelming and ephemeral, are in fact a real and tangible language, a chemical poetry that our body uses to guide us, to connect us, and to make our journey through life a rich and colourful one. We have been exploring the subtle chemistry of our emotions, the molecular colours that paint our inner landscapes with joy, motivation, and peace. And it is natural to assume that these messengers, like serotonin, are primarily brewed in the intricate laboratory of the brain. But our journey now takes an unexpected turn, travelling down from the central command of the head, following the great vagus nerve, down through the chest, and into the deep, warm darkness of the abdomen. For it is here, in the winding, 30-foot-long passages of your intestines, that we discover a secret that science is only just beginning to understand. A vast, hidden, and teeming ecosystem that profoundly influences your mood, your health, and even your thoughts. We are entering the world of the microbiome, the forgotten organ, a hidden garden of such complexity and importance that it is often called our second brain. Imagine, for a moment, that you are not a singular entity, but a walking, talking planet, a mobile ecosystem, providing a home to a population of beings that is almost beyond counting. Living on your skin, in your mouth, and most of all, within your gut, are trillions upon trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, and archaea. The sheer number is staggering. There are arguably more microbial cells in and on your body than there are human cells. In a very real and literal sense, you are more them than you are you. This is your microbiome, a community of ancient life that has co-evolved with humans for millennia, a symbiotic partner in the grand project of your existence. This is not an invasion or an infection. It is a fundamental and essential part of what it means to be human. Each of us possesses a microbial garden that is as unique as our fingerprint, a personal signature shaped by our genetics, our diet, our environment, and every experience of our lives. For most of our history, we thought of bacteria only as pathogens, as dangerous invaders to be eliminated. But the vast majority of the species living within us are not only harmless, but deeply beneficial. They are our silent partners, our microscopic helpers, performing tasks that our own bodies are incapable of. They are master chemists, breaking down the complex fibers and carbohydrates in the food we eat, substances our own digestive enzymes cannot touch, and in doing so, they unlock vital nutrients that would otherwise be lost. From this food, they synthesize essential vitamins for us, like vitamin K, which is crucial for blood clotting, and several B vitamins that are vital for energy. This hidden garden is also a training ground, a dojo, for our immune system. From the moment we are born, these resident microbes help to educate our young immune cells, teaching them how to distinguish between friend and foe, between a harmless food particle and a dangerous pathogen. A healthy, diverse microbiome is one of the cornerstones of a balanced and effective immune response. Perhaps the most astonishing discovery is the profound connection between this gut garden and the brain we just left behind. This is the gut-brain axis, a constant, bidirectional superhighway of communication. This is not just a vague, metaphorical connection. It is a real and physical one, conducted through the nervous system, the immune system, and the circulatory system. Remarkably, the microbes in your gut can produce many of the very same neurotransmitters that we once thought were exclusive to the brain. In fact, more than 90% of your body's serotonin, the molecule of well-being, is manufactured not in your brain, but by the specialized cells in your gut, its production heavily influenced by the bacteria that live there. These gut microbes also produce other crucial neurochemicals, like GABA or gamma-aminobutyric acid, which has a calming effect on the nervous system. These molecules can enter the bloodstream or stimulate the vagus nerve, sending signals directly to the brain that can influence your mood, your stress levels, and even your behavior. It is a two-way street. Just as the gut can influence the brain can influence the gut. Feelings of stress can trigger the release of hormones that change the gut environment, altering the composition of your microbial garden, favoring some species over others. And so, the ancient wisdom of a gut feeling is revealed not as folklore, but as a biological reality. a testament to the deep conversation constantly occurring between your two brains. This hidden garden is not a passive passenger. It is an active and influential voice in the parliament of your being. From the hidden, teeming garden of the gut, where our microbial partners help to break down the sustenance of the world into its fundamental components, our journey now follows these newly liberated nutrients as they are absorbed into the bloodstream. But they do not immediately travel to the far corners of the body. First, they must pass through a crucial gateway, a silent, watchful organ that is the undisputed master chemist of your inner universe. All the blood leaving your stomach and intestines gathers into a single, large vessel called the portal vein, and it flows directly into the largest internal organ of your body, the liver. Nestled in the upper right quadrant of your abdomen, beneath the dome of your diaphragm, this reddish-brown, wedge-shaped giant works in a deep and profound silence. It is the alchemist's chamber, the central metabolic factory, and the master purification plant of your entire being, performing over 500 vital tasks with a quiet, unrelenting efficiency. Unlike the heart with its constant beat or the lungs with their gentle rhythm, the liver gives no outward sign of its tireless labor. Yet, it is one of the most active and complex organs in your body. Let us first consider its role as the great protector, the guardian of your internal purity. The blood arriving from your digestive system is rich with the building blocks of life, but it may also carry stowaways, toxins, additives, pollutants from the environment, metabolic byproducts, or the remnants of medications. The liver acts as an incredibly sophisticated filtration system. Within its intricate labyrinth of specialized cells, known as hepatocytes, it performs the miracle of detoxification. It chemically transforms these harmful, fat-soluble substances, which could otherwise accumulate in your body, into harmless, water-soluble compounds that can be easily flushed away by your kidneys. It is a silent, molecular alchemy, turning poisons into benign salts, protecting the delicate cities of your cells from the chemical chaos of the outside world. Beyond this vital role as a purifier, the liver is the central processing hub for all the nutrients you consume. It is the wise and discerning manager of your body's economy. When your blood, rich with sugars from a recent meal, flows through its chambers, the liver takes up the excess glucose and, in a beautiful act of foresight, strings the molecules together into a long, branching chain called glycogen. This is your body's readily accessible energy reserve, stored away for a time of need. Hours later, when your blood sugar begins to dip, the liver will just as easily break down this glycogen and release a steady stream of glucose back into the blood, ensuring that your brain and muscles have the constant fuel they need to function. It does the same with fats and proteins, breaking them down, repackaging them, and synthesizing them into new forms. It can turn amino acids into sugars, or fats into the building blocks for hormones. It is the master of metabolic flexibility, ensuring that no matter the ebb and flow of your daily diet, the internal environment of your body remains in a state of perfect, life-sustaining balance, a principle known as homeostasis. The liver is also a prolific and essential manufacturer. It is a factory that never closes, producing a host of complex molecules that are vital for your survival. It synthesizes most of the proteins that circulate in your blood, such as albumin, which is crucial for maintaining the proper pressure within your blood vessels, and the various clotting factors that stand ready to seal any wound and begin the process of healing. It also produces bile, a greenish, bitter fluid that it secretes into a small, attached reservoir, the gallbladder. When you eat a meal containing fats, the gallbladder releases this bile into your intestines, where it acts as a powerful emulsifier, breaking down large globules of fat into tiny droplets that your digestive enzymes can then effectively process. Without the bile produced by your liver, you would be unable to absorb the essential fatty acids and fat-soluble vitamins that are critical for your health. Perhaps the most mythical quality of this silent alchemist is its incredible capacity for resilience and renewal. The liver has a regenerative power unlike any other organ in your body. If a portion of it is damaged or surgically removed, the remaining healthy tissue can regrow, sometimes back to its full, original size, within a matter of weeks. This ancient, profound ability to mend itself is a testament to the deep, vital importance of its work. It is an organ that embodies a quiet, formidable strength, a tireless servant dedicated to maintaining the purity, balance, and energy of your entire miniature universe, asking for nothing in return but the conditions to continue its silent, miraculous work. We have explored the alchemist's chamber of the liver, witnessing the profound chemical transformations that turn the raw materials of the world into the very substance of our life. But all of this intricate chemistry, all of this metabolic magic, from the firing of a neuron to the building of a protein, can only occur because it is happening within a very special medium. We must now take a step back from the individual organs and consider the most abundant, most essential, and perhaps most overlooked substance in the entire human body. It is the stage upon which the entire drama of your biology is played out. It is the solvent for the chemistry of life, the coolant for your internal engine, and the ancient, primordial sea that you carry with you every moment of your existence. This is water. Your body, this magnificent collection of cells, tissues, and organs, is in its essence an ocean. Approximately 60% of your total weight is nothing more than this simple, miraculous molecule, H2O. The silent red river of your blood is mostly water. The gel-like cytoplasm within every one of your trillions of cells is mostly water. The clear lymphatic fluid that bathes your tissues and guards your health is mostly water. You are a walking, breathing, thinking vessel of this planetary liquid. This profound connection to water is a legacy of our most distant origins, a whisper of the primordial oceans, where the very first sparks of life emerged billions of years ago. Every cell in your body requires the same aqueous environment that our earliest single-celled ancestors did. In a very real sense, when you were formed, you created your own personal ocean, a safe, internal sea, perfectly balanced and protected from the harshness of the outside world. What makes this simple molecule so uniquely suited for life? The secret lies in its very structure. A single water molecule is made of one oxygen atom bonded to two hydrogen atoms, but the bonds are asymmetrical, creating a slight electrical polarity. One side of the molecule has a subtle positive charge, and the other side has a subtle negative charge. This makes each water molecule a tiny magnet, and it is this property that makes it the universal solvent. It is brilliantly adept at pulling apart and dissolving other polar molecules, like salts, sugars, and amino acids. This is why water is the basis of your blood plasma, allowing it to carry a rich cargo of nutrients to your cells. It is why the cytoplasm is the perfect medium for the thousands of chemical reactions that sustain the life of the cell. Water is the matrix of life, the medium in which the molecules of your being can meet, interact, and create. This internal ocean is also the master regulator of your climate. Water has a very high specific heat, meaning it can absorb a great deal of thermal energy without its own temperature rising dramatically. This property makes the water within your body an excellent buffer against sudden temperature changes in the outside world, helping to keep your internal core temperature within the narrow, stable range that is essential for your enzymes and metabolic processes to function correctly. And when you do overheat, your body uses water's properties in another ingenious way. Your skin releases sweat, and as this water evaporates from your surface, it carries a great deal of heat away with it, a process of evaporative cooling that is both simple and profoundly effective. Finally, the water within you is in a state of constant, gentle, and purposeful motion, governed by the principle of osmosis. The membrane of every one of your cells is selectively permeable, allowing water to pass through freely. The water will always move from an area of lower solute concentration to an area of higher concentration, in a silent, ceaseless effort to create equilibrium. This is how your cells stay perfectly hydrated, how your kidneys filter your blood, and how nutrients are drawn from your intestines. It is a quiet, background dance of fluid dynamics that maintains the perfect salinity of your internal sea, ensuring that every cell has precisely the environment it needs to thrive. And so, as you rest here, feel the profound and simple truth of your own liquid nature. You are a vessel of an ancient ocean, a beautifully contained ecosystem, animated and sustained by the most common and most magical substance on Earth. We have been drifting through the internal ocean of the body, the water that forms the very medium of our existence, a perfectly balanced sea teeming with the chemistry of life. But like any ocean on Earth, this internal sea is not sterile. It is a world that can be visited by uninvited guests, by microscopic life forms, by cellular debris, and by cells that have forgotten their own purpose. What is it, then, that keeps this inner world so pure, so safe, and in such a state of delicate harmony? The answer lies in another of the body's silent and profoundly intelligent systems, one that is often described with the harsh language of warfare, of battles and invaders. But tonight, let us reimagine it differently. Let us see it not as an army, but as a vast and intricate symphony, a collective of graceful dancers and wise conductors dedicated to a single purpose: the maintenance of balance, the quiet, constant performance of health. This is your immune system. This symphony has two magnificent movements, working in perfect concert. The first is the innate immune system, the ancient and immediate response. These are the first responders, the percussion section of the orchestra, always present, always ready. They are composed of physical barriers like our skin, the living map we have already visited, and the delicate mucous membranes that line our airways. But within the body, the stars of this first movement are a class of cells called phagocytes. Let us picture them not as soldiers, but as the graceful, flowing dancers of the internal world. The most magnificent of these are the macrophages, large, amoeba-like cells that glide through your tissues. Their role is not to attack, but to cleanse. They are the discerning janitors of your cellular cities, gently engulfing cellular debris, old and dying cells, and any foreign particles they do not recognize. They maintain the cleanliness and order of your tissues in a silent, ceaseless ballet of purification. When these first responders encounter something that requires a more specific and powerful response, they send out chemical signals, the first notes of a more complex melody, calling forth the second great movement of the symphony, the adaptive immune system. This is the string section, the woodwinds, the soloists. It is a slower, more deliberate, and exquisitely specific system that learns, remembers, and adapts. The principal musicians of this movement are the lymphocytes, a class of white blood cells born in your bone marrow. Let us imagine the B cells as the master librarians or sculptors of the immune world. When they encounter a specific foreign molecule, an antigen, they do something remarkable. They study its shape, its texture, and then they begin to craft a perfect, complementary molecule, a protein called an antibody. Each antibody is like a unique key, designed to fit only one specific lock. These antibodies are then released into the blood and lymph, where they flow through the body, seeking out and latching onto their specific targets, marking them for the gentle dancers, the macrophages, to clear away. Working in concert with the B cells are the T cells, the true conductors of this grand symphony. There are helper T cells, which are the maestros of the entire adaptive response. They receive information from the first responders, and in turn, they activate and direct the other musicians, ensuring that the response is coordinated, powerful, and appropriate to the situation. They call upon the B cells to begin their sculpting work and summon another type of T cell, the cytotoxic T cell. These are not indiscriminate killers. They are the most precise of soloists. Their task is to identify your own body cells that have been compromised, cells that are no longer playing their part in the symphony of health. The cytotoxic T cell approaches such a cell and delivers a precise, targeted message, a single, final note that instructs the compromised cell to gracefully retire, to undergo a quiet and orderly self-destruction, a process that protects the surrounding tissue from harm. The most beautiful and reassuring aspect of this entire symphony is its memory. After the melody has reached its crescendo and the harmony of the body has been restored, the adaptive immune system does not forget. It leaves behind a small population of memory cells, both B cells and T cells. These are the wise elders of the orchestra, the keepers of the musical score. They can circulate in your body for years, even a lifetime, holding the memory of a specific encounter. If that same foreign presence should ever return, these memory cells recognize it instantly, and the symphony begins again, not from the slow opening notes, but from the powerful, magnificent crescendo. The response is so swift and so overwhelming that you may never even know the encore performance occurred. This is the profound and elegant principle that makes immunizations possible, the gentle act of teaching your immune symphony a new song of protection. And all of this happens within a hidden network of vessels called the lymphatic system, the quiet, clear rivers that are the concert halls and practice rooms for these incredible musical cells. Having found a sense of peace and safety in the silent, harmonious symphony of our immune system, our journey now turns its gaze from the deep, microscopic world within to the vast, luminous world without. How does this miniature universe, so perfectly contained and protected, come to know the greater universe that surrounds it? It learns through the senses, the delicate and beautiful gateways that translate the raw physics of reality into the rich tapestry of our experience. And we shall begin with the most dominant of these, the sense that floods our being with more information than any other, the sense that allows us to witness a sunrise, to see the face of a loved one, and to gaze upon the distant, shimmering stars. We arrive now at the miracle of sight, and the beautiful, biological telescope that makes it possible. The human eye. Imagine a single particle of light, a photon, beginning its journey across the vastness of space. It may have been born in the heart of our sun 8 minutes ago, or it may have travelled for thousands of years from a distant star in our galaxy. After its long and lonely voyage, it ends its journey here, at the threshold of your awareness, passing through the first gateway of your eye, the cornea. This is the transparent, curved outer window, a living shield that begins to bend and focus the incoming light. The photon then passes through the pupil, the dark, central aperture, whose size is controlled by the beautiful coloured iris, which gently expands and contracts to regulate the amount of light entering the inner chamber, protecting the sensitive structures within from the harshness of the day. Once inside, the photon's path is guided by the lens, a remarkable crystalline structure of perfect transparency. Surrounded by a tiny, delicate muscle, this living lens can change its shape, becoming thicker to focus on a nearby object, like the words on a page, or flatter to gaze upon a distant horizon. It is this constant, subtle adjustment that allows for the sharp clarity of your vision, a feat of biological engineering that technology has long striven to replicate. The photon, now perfectly focused, travels through the clear, jelly-like fluid that fills the globe of the eye, its journey of millions upon millions of miles, now only a few milliseconds from its final destination. It is headed for the sentient screen at the very back of the eye, a delicate, multi-layered tissue that is, in truth, an outpost of the brain itself. This is the retina. Here, on this living screen, the journey of light ends, and the journey of perception begins. The retina is lined with over 100 million specialized photoreceptor cells, the translators of light into life. These cells come in two varieties, each with a unique and beautiful purpose. The vast majority are the rods, the detectives of the night. They are exquisitely sensitive to even the faintest glimmer of light, but they cannot perceive color. It is your rods that allow you to navigate a dimly lit room, to see the faint outlines of trees under a moonlit sky, painting the world for you in soft, subtle shades of grey and silver. Scattered among them, and concentrated in the very center of the retina, are the cones, the artists of the day. They require much brighter light to be activated, but in return, they provide the gift of color, perceiving the world in a vibrant palette of reds, greens, and blues, and allowing for the sharp, high-definition detail of your central vision. When our traveling photon finally strikes one of these rods or cones, its journey is over. In a final climactic act, its energy is absorbed, triggering a chemical reaction that instantaneously creates a tiny electrical signal. This is the magical moment of transduction, the instant that the physical universe of light is translated into the electrochemical language of your nervous system. This tiny spark of information is then processed by several layers of other cells within the retina, which gather and refine the signals from millions of photoreceptors before passing them along to the great optic nerve, the bundled cable of over 1 million nerve fibers that sweeps out from the back of the eye. This cable carries the stream of electrical whispers on the final leg of its journey into the visual cortex at the back of your brain. For it is here, in the silent, enchanted loom of your mind, that these abstract signals are finally woven into the coherent, three-dimensional, and beautifully coloured image of the world that you perceive as sight. The eye is the camera, but the brain is the artist that truly sees. Through the living telescope of the eye, we have learned to gaze outward, to witness the vastness of the cosmos, and to receive the ancient light of distant stars, each one a story from the deep past of the universe. But now, our journey turns inward once more, for there is another kind of history, another story of the deep past, that we do not need a telescope to see. This story is written not in light, but in bone and flesh, and the very code of our cells. Our bodies themselves are living museums, quiet archives that carry the fossilized echoes of our immense evolutionary journey. We are each a walking, breathing testament to the unbroken chain of life that stretches back, not for thousands or millions, but for billions of years, to the very dawn of biology on this planet. Let us consider the subtle clues, the anatomical whispers of a past we have long since moved beyond. These are the vestigial structures, the remnants of features that were vital to our distant ancestors. Deep in your abdomen, attached to your large intestine, is the appendix. For a long time, it was considered a useless evolutionary leftover, but we now believe it may serve as a quiet sanctuary, a safe house for the beneficial bacteria of your gut garden, a place for them to shelter and repopulate after a disturbance. It is a living relic of a time when our diet was vastly different, a whisper of a forgotten menu. Consider also your coccyx, the small, fused vertebrae at the very base of your spine. This is, unmistakably, the remnant of a tail. As you sit or lie here, you can feel its subtle presence, a direct, physical connection to a time when our primate ancestors navigated the world of the forest canopy, their tails essential for balance and communication. It no longer serves that purpose, but it remains as a quiet anatomical signature, a fossil embedded in your own form. And sometimes the library of our genes opens to a page long thought closed. On very rare occasions, an ancient instruction, usually silenced, is expressed once more, and a human child is born with a small, rudimentary tail. This is known as an atavism, a throwback to a distant ancestral form. These rare and beautiful occurrences are a profound reminder that our genetic code is not a clean modern document, but a vast and layered manuscript, with old chapters and forgotten passages still written in its ink, a silent library of all that we have ever been. Our DNA itself is the ultimate historical record. When we compare our own genetic code to that of our closest living relatives, the chimpanzees, we find that they are over 98% identical. Our stories are almost the same, but the connections go much further. We share genes with every living thing on Earth. You share a surprising amount of your DNA with a mouse, a fruit fly, even a banana. This is because we all spring from the same ancient, common ancestor, and we all use the same fundamental genetic language. The Book of Life is a single, sprawling epic, and each species is simply a different chapter, written with the same 4 letters. Perhaps the most poetic illustration of this deep history occurs in the dark, watery world of the womb, during our own embryonic development. As a human embryo grows, it seems to dream its way through its evolutionary past. In its earliest stages, the embryo develops structures that look remarkably like the pharyngeal arches or gill slits of a fish. These are not functional gills, of course, but they are a clear echo of our aquatic origins. These same structures, as development continues, do not vanish, but are repurposed and transformed, one pair becoming parts of our jaw, another developing into the tiny, delicate bones of our middle ear. We are, in a sense, built from the repurposed parts of our ancestors. The embryo is a testament to nature's profound thriftiness and its elegant ability to build new forms upon ancient foundations. And so, the body you inhabit is not something that was designed from scratch. It is a beautiful, intricate collage of its own history. It carries the memory of the ocean in the salt of its blood, the memory of the forest in its grasping hands, and the memory of a billion-year journey in the very architecture of its bones and the silent, coiled serpent of its DNA. We have explored the deep, evolutionary memory carried in the very structure of our bodies, the ancient fossils of a history that belongs to all life. But now, as we begin to drift deeper into a state of rest, our journey turns from this collective, biological past to the most intimate and personal history of all. Your own? We arrive at the mysterious, shimmering, and often deceptive world of your memory, the collection of experiences, knowledge, and feelings that together create the unique story of who you are. Memory is not a dusty archive or a digital hard drive, faithfully recording every moment. It is something far more alive, more fluid, and more poetic. It is a shifting landscape, an internal world that is constantly being terraformed by your present awareness, a story that you are, in a very real sense, continually retelling to yourself. The process of creating a new, lasting memory begins in a beautiful, seahorse-shaped structure tucked deep within the temporal lobe of your brain, the hippocampus. This is not the final storage vault for your memories, but it is the master weaver, the skilled librarian that takes the raw threads of a present experience, the sights, the sounds, and the emotions, and begins to weave them together into a coherent tapestry. The hippocampus is crucial for what is known as declarative memory, the library of your conscious mind. This is the memory of things you can explicitly recall. The name of a childhood friend, the feeling of the sun on your skin last summer, what you had for dinner last night. It is the storybook of your life, the collection of facts and events that form your personal narrative. The hippocampus manages these new entries, holding on to them, strengthening them, and, especially during the quiet hours of sleep, it begins the crucial work of consolidation, directing their transfer to the vast, distributed networks of your cerebral cortex for more permanent storage. The physical basis of this weaving, the way a fleeting experience becomes an enduring part of your brain's architecture, is a process of beautiful simplicity and profound implication. It happens at the synapse, the tiny gap between neurons. When a memory is being formed, the neurons involved in processing that experience fire together in a specific pattern. And as the old neurological saying goes, neurons that fire together, wire together. With repeated activation, the connection, the synapse, between these neurons becomes physically stronger and more efficient. It is a process of long-term potentiation. Imagine the neural pathways of your brain as a dense, untracked forest. A single, new experience creates a faint footpath. If you revisit that experience, think about it, or recall it, you walk that path again, and it becomes clearer, more defined. Over time, with enough reinforcement, that simple footpath can become a well-traveled road, a connection so strong that the thought or memory can flow down it almost effortlessly. Your memories are not located in a single place. They are encoded in the intricate and ever-changing pattern of these synaptic strengths, a living web of relationships written into the very substance of your brain. Alongside this library of the conscious mind, there exists another, quieter kind of knowing. Procedural memory. This is the body's silent wisdom, the memory of how to do things. It is the knowledge of how to ride a bicycle, how to tie your shoes, how to play a familiar melody on a piano. These memories are not typically stored in the hippocampus, but are ingrained in other parts of the brain, like the cerebellum. They are learned through practice and repetition, until they become so automatic that you no longer need to consciously think about them. They are memories held not in stories, but in muscle and nerve, a kind of deep physical grace. Perhaps the most peaceful realization about memory, as you settle into rest, is understanding its fluid and reconstructive nature. When you recall a past event, you are not replaying a recording. You are actively rebuilding it. Your brain gathers the scattered fragments of the memory from across the cortex and pieces them back together. And in this act of reconstruction, the memory can be subtly changed. It is often recolored by your present mood, your current beliefs, your later experiences. This is why memories can seem to soften or shift over time. They are not hard, immutable facts, but living stories. And this gives us a gentle power, the power to reframe our past, to find new meanings in old events, and to allow the landscapes of our memory to become a softer, more peaceful place to reside. From the shifting, living landscapes of our personal memory, where our past is consolidated and woven into our being during the quiet hours of rest, our journey now drifts toward the very mechanism that governs this sacred, nightly ritual. What is it that calls us to this state of surrender each night? What is the gentle, invisible tide that pulls us away from the shores of wakefulness and into the deep, restorative ocean of sleep? The answer lies not in a single organ, but in a rhythm, a pulse that is as ancient as life itself. Within you, and within nearly every living creature on this planet, there exists an unseen clock, a silent, internal timekeeper that synchronizes the symphony of your biology with the grand, cosmic rhythm of the Earth's daily spin. At the very center of your brain, nestled in a region called the hypothalamus, is the master conductor of this temporal orchestra, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This is a tiny, elegant cluster of just 20,000 neurons, but its influence is vast and profound. Let us imagine it as the master clockmaker of your inner world, a patient and exquisitely precise artisan who keeps the master time for your entire being. This clock does not run on gears and springs. It runs on the elegant, cyclical expression of genes within its own cells, a molecular feedback loop that oscillates with a near-perfect 24-hour rhythm. This is your circadian rhythm, from the Latin circa diem, meaning about a day. It is your body's innate, internal day. But how does this internal clock stay synchronized with the outside world? How does it know when the sun has risen and when it has set? It learns this through the most direct connection to the world's light. Your eyes. Within your retina, alongside the rods and cones that allow you to see, there exists a third class of photoreceptors. Their job is not to create images, but simply to detect the presence of ambient light, especially the blue wavelengths that are abundant in daylight. When these cells detect light, they send a direct signal along a dedicated nerve pathway to your master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This is how your internal time is set each morning. The morning light is the signal that winds the spring, that synchronizes your personal day with the planet's day, a communion of light that happens silently and automatically every time you open your eyes to the dawn. As evening approaches and the light begins to fade, your master clockmaker takes this cue and begins to prepare your body for the coming night. It sends a quiet signal to a tiny, pine cone-shaped gland in your brain called the pineal gland. In response to this signal, the pineal gland begins to secrete a special hormone, the true messenger of the night, melatonin. This is the hormone of darkness, a gentle molecular lullaby that begins to circulate throughout your body. It does not force you to sleep, but rather, it opens the gates. Melatonin lowers your core body temperature slightly, reduces your alertness, and creates a state of quiet, wakeful drowsiness. The gentle invitation to let go. As the night deepens, melatonin levels rise, helping you to enter and maintain a deep, restorative sleep. Then, as the first light of morning once again reaches your eyes, the signal is sent, melatonin production ceases, and the cycle begins anew. At the same time, the master clock signals for a gradual rise in cortisol, the hormone of alertness, a gentle, internal dawn that prepares you to wake. This master clock does not just govern your sleep and wakefulness. It is the central conductor for an entire orchestra of peripheral clocks located in almost every organ and tissue of your body. Your liver has its own clock, which governs its metabolic processes, becoming more active at certain times of day. Your digestive system has its clock, influencing hunger and the release of digestive enzymes. Your immune system even has a rhythm, with different cells being more active at night. This is why a consistent rhythm in your life, a regular time for sleeping and waking, can feel so profoundly restorative. It allows the entire symphony of your biology to play in perfect time, a state of temporal harmony that is essential for the deep work of healing, repair, and memory consolidation that happens only when you finally surrender to the gentle, ancient, and unfailing rhythm of the unseen clock. We have followed the unseen clock as it ties our personal, daily rhythms to the gentle, constant turning of our planet, the dance of light and darkness that governs our rest. This connection between our bodies and the cosmos is profound, but our journey now takes us to an even deeper, more fundamental truth, a truth that bridges the microscopic life within your cells to the most cataclysmic and creative events in the history of the universe. We are going to explore the very substance of your being, the raw, physical elements from which your miniature universe is built. For the story of your body did not begin at your birth, nor at the dawn of life on Earth. The story of the atoms that make you who you are began long, long ago, in the fiery hearts of ancient, long-dead stars. Let us travel back in time, back almost 14 billion years, to the very beginning. In the first moments after the Big Bang, the universe was an incredibly hot, dense sea of pure energy. As it expanded and cooled, this energy condensed into the very first matter, forming the simplest and lightest of all the elements. Vast clouds of hydrogen and a smaller amount of helium. And for a long time, that was all there was. A universe composed of only these two simple gases. There was no carbon for life, no oxygen to breathe, no calcium for bones, no iron for blood. The ingredients for a world, let alone a human being, did not yet exist. So where did they come from? They came from the great cosmic forges, the alchemical furnaces of the heavens. The stars. As gravity pulled the great clouds of hydrogen and helium together, they grew denser and hotter, until at their cores, a fire was lit. This was the fire of nuclear fusion. Under immense pressure and temperature, the stars began to do what the early universe could not. They began to build. They fused hydrogen atoms together to create more helium. As they aged, they fused helium atoms together to create carbon, the very backbone of all life as we know it. In the hearts of these massive, brilliant stars, the first carbon atoms were born, the very atoms that now form the DNA in your cells and the sugars that give you energy. The star continued its work, fusing carbon into oxygen, the atom you are breathing at this very moment. It forged nitrogen, neon, magnesium, working its way up the periodic table, creating the heavier elements from the lighter ones in a patient, stellar alchemy that lasted for millions or billions of years. For elements up to the weight of iron, this process of fusion releases energy, powering the star and holding it up against the crushing force of its own gravity. But iron is the end of the line. Fusing iron atoms together consumes energy rather than releasing it. And so, in the most massive of stars, when the core finally becomes pure iron, the fire goes out. The delicate balance is lost, and in a fraction of a second, the star collapses under its own immense weight. This collapse triggers the most spectacular event in the universe, a supernova. The resulting shockwave is an explosion of such unimaginable power that it can briefly outshine an entire galaxy. And it is in the fleeting, violent inferno of this explosion that the final act of creation takes place. The supernova releases so much energy that it forges all the other elements of the periodic table, all the elements heavier than iron. The silver and gold you might wear as jewelry, the silicon in the sand on a beach, the iodine that regulates your metabolism. This glorious, explosive death is also an act of profound generosity. The supernova scatters all of these newly created elements, the carbon and oxygen from its lifetime, the gold and zinc from its death far and wide across the galaxy, seeding the interstellar clouds with the raw materials for life. Over eons, these enriched clouds of dust and gas would collapse to form new generations of stars and, around them, planets. One of those planets was our own Earth. And so, it is a simple, literal, and breathtaking truth that the calcium in your bones was forged in the heart of a star. The iron in your hemoglobin, which carries oxygen through your veins, was born in the spectacular death of a star. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are a living, breathing, conscious piece of it. The universe is not something that is just out there, beyond the sky. It is within you. You are, in the most literal sense, stardust. We have journeyed to the very origins of our physical substance, discovering with a sense of profound awe that we are walking, breathing collections of stardust, animated by the chemistry of the cosmos. And yet, the true miracle is not just what we are made of, but but what this stardust has learned to do. This intelligent matter, organized over eons of evolution, has learned not only to live and to think, but also to mend. Your body possesses a deep, innate, and quiet wisdom, a gentle art of healing that is at work every moment of your life, repairing, restoring, and renewing your form with a grace that is nothing short of miraculous. As you now prepare to surrender to a night of deep rest, let us find comfort in this constant, faithful process of restoration. Consider what happens when this carefully contained universe is breached. For instance, by a simple, shallow cut on your skin. It is a moment of chaos, a tear in the fabric of your being. But instantly, a beautiful and perfectly choreographed response begins. The first to arrive at the scene are the platelets, tiny, disc-shaped cell fragments that are always circulating silently in your blood. They are the vigilant first responders. Upon sensing the broken vessel wall, they become sticky and rush to the site, clumping together to form a soft, initial plug. It is the body's first, swift effort to restore wholeness. But this plug is only temporary. To truly seal the breach, a more intricate process must unfold. A cascade of proteins, the clotting factors made by your liver, are activated, culminating in the creation of a remarkable molecule called fibrin. These fibrin strands are like living, microscopic threads that weave themselves throughout the platelet plug, creating a strong, intricate, and durable mesh. This is the clot, a living bandage woven from your own substance that staunches the flow of your internal river and creates a safe scaffold under which new tissue can begin to grow. Soon after, the area may become warm, red, and slightly swollen. This is the inflammatory response, a process we often mistake for a problem, but which is, in truth, a beautiful and essential sign of healing. It is the body calling the workers to the construction site. The blood vessels in the area gently dilate, allowing a greater flow of the red river to the site of the injury. This brings a rich supply of oxygen and nutrients needed for the repair work, and it also brings the cleanup crew, the graceful, dancing macrophages of your immune system. They arrive to gently clear away any damaged cells and foreign debris, preparing the ground for renewal. It is a state of focused, purposeful, and life-affirming activity, all orchestrated by the silent, chemical messengers of your body. This art of mending is not reserved for moments of injury. It is a constant, nightly practice. As you drift into the deeper stages of sleep, one of the most profound and essential acts of renewal takes place within your brain. During your waking hours, the tireless activity of your 86 billion neurons produces a great deal of metabolic waste. All day long, these byproducts accumulate in the narrow spaces between your brain cells. During deep sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain cells actually shrink slightly, widening the channels between them. This allows the cerebrospinal fluid, the clear, watery liquid that cushions your brain, to flow through these channels more freely, in a process now known as the glymphatic system. It is a gentle, nightly rinse cycle for your brain, washing away the accumulated toxins, including the beta-amyloid proteins that have been linked to neurodegenerative diseases. This is why a good night's sleep can leave you feeling so clear-headed and refreshed. It is the quiet, essential housekeeping that restores the clarity and function of your enchanted loom. And this renewal is happening everywhere. Every moment, your body is engaged in the quiet, constant art of replacing the old with the new. The cells lining your stomach, exposed to powerful acids, live for only a few days before they are replaced. The outer layer of your skin, the living map, is completely renewed every month. The red blood cells that carry your oxygen are replaced every 4 months. This is the promise of mitosis, the simple, elegant dance of cell division that ensures your body is not a static object, but a flowing, dynamic river of becoming. And so, as you let go now, trust in this deep, gentle, and unfailing art of mending. Trust that the stardust of which you are made knows how to find its way back to wholeness. Surrender to the quiet, restorative work that is already, and always, happening within you. We have journeyed through the miniature universe inside you, from the first breath of the outer world to the inner ocean of your blood, through the living forest of your bones and into the luminous, bustling city of a single cell. We have marveled at the ancient, coiled serpent of your DNA, ascended into the enchanted loom of your brain, and felt the chemical colors of your emotions. We have discovered the hidden garden in your gut, honored the silent alchemist in your liver, and felt the cosmic rhythms of your unseen clock. We have found comfort in the gentle art of your body's mending, and stood in awe of the profound truth that you are, in your very substance, the stuff of stars. And now, we arrive at the final frontier, the greatest and most intimate mystery of all. For after all this exploration of the machinery of life, one question remains. Who is it that has been witnessing this journey? What is this quiet, spacious, and effortless awareness in which all of these sensations, thoughts, and feelings arise? This is the mystery of consciousness. It is the silent, invisible light of your own perception, the simple fact of your subjective experience. It is the taste of water, the color red, the feeling of warmth, the ache of nostalgia. Science can describe the intricate mechanisms that underlie these experiences, the firing of neurons and the release of chemicals, but it cannot yet explain why it feels like anything at all. This is the great and beautiful question that lies at the heart of our existence. It is the ultimate mystery, not to be solved like a puzzle, but to be rested in, like a quiet, open field. We can think of consciousness as an emergent property. Just as the property of wetness emerges from the interaction of countless individual H2O molecules, none of which is wet on its own, so too does the unified experience of your consciousness seem to emerge from the complex, interconnected symphony of your 86 billion neurons. It is a property of the whole, a silent music that arises from the orchestra, which cannot be found by dissecting any single instrument. The perfect, harmonious functioning of every system we have explored, from the delivery of oxygen to the filtering of toxins, to the constant mending of your form, creates the stable, healthy foundation upon which this miracle of awareness can arise. It is the culmination of all the body's silent work. And so, here at the end of our journey, you lie in a state of quiet rest, a collection of stardust forged in the hearts of suns, animated by the ancient laws of chemistry and organized by 4 billion years of evolution. And all of it, this entire cosmic and biological epic, has culminated in this single, simple, peaceful moment. It has culminated in you. The universe, in its vast and silent majesty, has, through you, created a space in which it can be witnessed. The light from a distant star travels for 1,000,000 years, but it is only when it lands upon your retina and is translated by your brain that it is finally seen, that its beauty is finally known. You are the universe's organ of perception. You are the consciousness that witnesses. There is nothing you need to do to be this awareness. There is nothing you need to achieve. It is your most fundamental nature. It is the stillness beneath the thoughts, the silence that holds the sound. As you now let go completely, as you allow the gentle tide of sleep to finally carry you away, simply rest in this quiet, witnessing presence. Rest as the silent, peaceful awareness in which the story of your miniature universe has been told. Rest in the profound and simple truth that you are home. Thank you so deeply for joining me on this journey. I would be so grateful to hear about any thoughts or feelings that arose for you along the way. So please feel free to leave a gentle comment. If you have found peace in our time together, please show your support with a like, a subscription, and by sharing this story with others who might find solace in it. For now, there is nothing left to do but rest. Sleep well.